All right, guys, today on Talk the Talk with Tribe Title, we have Scott Hurlbert of Grateful Day Realty, and he's a team within Keller Williams Real Living. Thanks for coming on today, Scott.
Thanks for having me.
So real quick, we'll just dive right in. So your team now consists of your Grateful Day Realty, which is your team, and it consists of you and your wife, Marta, correct?
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, so, it's right now it's just the two of us. Obviously we have ambitions to, become something bigger, but right now it's really just focusing on us building out the business and, starting there.
Right. So now do you guys, is kind of one of your big goals just kind of getting the systems in place to where you're set up logistically when you do decide to grow?
Yeah, I mean, that's, with talking with my coach this morning, and he told me to not worry about my business as much as worrying about getting the business done.
Yeah.
So don't put too much effort in that. That's going to come. It's going to sort of follow your success.
Yeah.
So, and that's something that was in my aha of the morning
Yeah.
already that I've had. So really, as of today, I'm going to really focus more on getting the business done, and
Yeah.
then the I'll be able to structure afterwards. Because
Okay.
I've been doing this 6 years.
Yeah.
I've gone through quite a few transactions, so I understand it, and I have an idea of what I want to do. But I think pivoting to letting it organically grow, more so than trying to force a structure to it,
Yeah.
it's smart and it makes total sense. And it's just, I'm a bit of a control freak.
That's kind of the opposite of what I thought. Well, obviously it was the opposite of what you thought too, that would be the way you would build it. So is that kind of, I guess, walk me through that a little bit. What does that conversation sound like?
So we've talked about where my goals are, my core values, where that was a big point of our meeting today.
Yeah.
And, where we want to get to be able to leverage our time, because I have a 6 and a 4-year-old.
Right.
And the most important thing to me is to be present with them and be able to, enjoy life with them.
Absolutely.
And create more time to, I coach soccer right now. My wife does stuff with the school. We want to be, more ingrained in the community. We want to be visible. And if I'm hyper-focused on building the business, and then I have to, I'm taking time away. So I want to get to the point where I can hire an admin to do that kind of stuff for us, so I can leverage away my time, because the important thing in my life is my family.
Yeah. And so now kind of, I guess, moving forward then is the idea to focus just on your business right now, as far as, lead gen, that type of stuff, keep the business rolling, which in turn will allow you to have the income to then develop and build an admin.
Yep. And that's what he said. He said, so it's really cool when, like we've talked about before, Keller Williams, how they have everything already structured in these different models, and you can figure out how to work backwards to what actually works for you and your goals. And that's sort of what we're doing right now. And it's really cool. And I'm super excited to do that, to really see where I'm going, because I know where I'm going. He knows where my plans are in the future, but now it's actually putting the pen to the paper and saying, okay, here's what you need to do today.
Yeah.
Here's where you need to be in a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years, because I'm not getting any younger, and I do want to retire one day.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, is your coach within KW?
Yeah, Bill Maniaci.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So,
and that's cool too, that you actually work in an office with the person that coaches you, and this person has success. So it's not just somebody that's getting paid as a coach. And, like they say, some people coach, some people play. Like, he obviously plays at a high level also. So, he knows what he's talking about.
Right. No, I mean, he's awesome, and he's super positive and brilliant, you know. So it's really cool to get that one-on-one time to be able to have those conversations. Yeah. I mean, the value that comes in that, we had 30 minutes this morning, and obviously that's just, our every Wednesday. But the value that you can pull out of talking to someone that is a realtor at that level, it really just, it pours out in the natural conversation. And it really, I think, will help me to be able to take that next step and then the next step and keep going.
And that's cool. Like we were talking about before the show started, just kind of the camaraderie in there. So you have a guy that in a lot of different real estate companies would be looked at as your competition. And here's this guy that, you know, obviously is a realtor, successful on a high level, and he's taking time out of his day to help you develop your business, and you're not even on his team.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's where Keller Williams, I think, stands apart from others. You know, I think that's why it's growing at the level that it is, because there's a different environment that they want it to be built around. And every office probably isn't the same, but our office is absolutely amazing. The leadership, you know, the education that they put, you know, on the forefront of everyone from, you know, brand new agents to agents, you know, because I've done this for 6 years. I've made a good living, like, but I'm still growing, and I don't have any, you know, I'm not slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah.
So that's the coolest part, is like they have something for everyone within that office to continue to help you grow, to become bigger, stronger, to wherever you want to be.
Yeah.
You know, you can do at any level. You know, you can come in there and you can play, and you can play at an elite level, and that's cool.
Yeah, very. And then also every team, you know, for obvious reasons, you may not want your team to look like, you know, A, B, and C's team.
Yeah.
Do they go through different models, like where you can kind of fine tune it and make it your thing within, you know, obviously achieving what you want to achieve?
Yeah. And that's the cool thing. Like I picked up, you know, through Family Reunion, a couple of years ago, they went through and they did that, like talked to in small teams and like where to grow. And I really was attracted to a team out of Alabama, and they have like 7 agents.
Yeah.
It's a husband and wife, and they do 400 units a year. If you're an agent on this team, you have to close 30 units or you get let go.
Wow.
So they set it up, and they have their systems in place, and they actually recruit agents from outside, and bring them in, and with all of the understanding, but they do it at such an elite level that these people are willing to leave their already successful businesses to come be a part of this, because they want to free up, you know, other points in their life. Maybe they want more free time with their family, you know, maybe they just want more free time because they want to go fishing, you know, like it allows them to live their life that they want to live, you know, life by design.
If you can do 30 deals in a year and be kind of hands off when it comes to the admin and all the back end work, I mean, that's a good life.
Right. You know, and then that's where, you know, Keller Williams, again, it's just going to keep coming back to it. It's like they create value in what they're doing to really allow people to live a life by design. You know, you can be super successful and you can work, you know, 30 hours a week, or you can work 60 hours a week. It doesn't matter. It's how you want to do it. There's a plan in place for you to be able to leverage everything to create it around you, and not just, you know, this is the way we do things. Yeah. So that's the cool part.
I've noticed too, it's really cool is it's not even I mean, I'm sure they recruit to some degree, but it's, the trainings are always open to anybody, which is, you know, like a lot of companies are very closed off to the outside, whereas they're like, you know, hey, if you know an agent that wants to pick up on this training, bring them in and they can sit in, and it's not even a, you know, hey, once you come in and look at this, you have to sign up. We're willing to teach other people as well, which is really cool.
Right. And I think that's a big part of it, is just allowing people to do that. They see, you know, I mean, like, I forget who it was, a couple team meetings ago, and they came in and they sat there, and you could sort of just see the bewilderment in their eyes as everyone was just having a good time, laughing, enjoying, sharing things, you know, because like other places, people get a listing, they hold it really, really tight. They don't even tell people in the office the listing's going live, because they're hoping they can maybe get both sides, you know, whereas this is like, hey, anyone have listings coming up? Boom. And then someone in this corner says, oh yeah, I have a buyer for that. We need to talk after the meeting. Right. And we, you know, we're working together because, you know, we know we're stronger as one than as individuals. And that's the mentality. And that's why it's become so successful. And it is, you know, the largest real estate.
Yeah. I heard a story about a successful agent that was outside of Keller Williams that worked for a different brokerage that actually wanted to know what the heck was going on with like Family Reunion and stuff. And so they actually sent this agent to Family Reunion through our office. And this was strictly just to kind of, reconnaissance, gather information, see what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And this agent was like, in no way am I signing up or switching. Like, I have this great thing going. And came back and within like a month switched over to KW. You know what I mean? It was a no-brainer. Like, it clicked. And she was like, wow, this is something else. I can't have seen this and not be a part of it.
Right. And that's the coolest part. Cause at first I had some hesitation because I am a loyal person. So where I was before, they had taught me some things, and it's just how I am. It's how I was raised. So I'm going to stick with you if you're going to be by my side. But as things changed a little bit, I found more value in what was being offered. And then I got a couple more nudges. And then finally Julie Tucker was like, come on. I'm like, all right, this is what I need. I know.
Who's just a monster agent herself. I mean,
she's phenomenal.
She does great. And she's a solo agent, which, like you said, that's team's not for everybody. That's the way she decides to run, and it works great for her.
Right. Yeah. And that's the coolest part about it is there's a spot for everyone who wants to be at every level in this company. You don't have to do anything. Like, our office is a little more team heavy than most offices, but there's other offices that don't have teams. And now nationally, you're seeing these mega teams, that it's wild. Yeah. It's wild what they're doing, but it's also cool to be a part of and see, because you can replicate just about anything that someone else is doing, and everyone's open to sharing.
Yeah. So. Now, a little bit about you, and now that we're done with that, I don't want to make this sound like it's a KW plug, which it sounds like, but it's, just by default, obviously, you're a KW agent, and I hear nothing but the best stuff about it. So we always kind of dive into that a little bit. You were with a different company before you came to KW. So how long have you been with KW now?
It'll be 4 years in April, so 3.5 years.
Okay.
It was just time for a change. I needed new energy. Yeah. And it was perfect timing. I had talked to Dominic, and then Julie was, gave me the nudge, and I just knew it was time. It felt right. Yeah. And so it's been eye-opening. Yeah. To see the difference, which is really cool, because they just didn't have the education and the sharing. Yeah. Like, you just share how people are so open to share how they're successful, and it's such a positive environment. And the energy just you can feel because of it.
And you're offering a better service to your clients, really, at the end of the day, which is the important part of it. Like, my neighbor is an agent for, I'm not going to say the name of the company, but it's one of the ones that, they don't do anything for him. And he seems to think it's a good fit, but it's like his deals are just a complete mess because he doesn't have any back end support. So he's constantly, calling around to people on 800 numbers and trying to figure out how to put deals together. And it's just, everything's kind of last minute. And to me, you're doing everybody in the transaction a disservice by running like that. Whereas you could be with a company that's going to give you the support to make sure that at the end of the day, they're doing what's best for the client. And that's making sure that the deal's wrapped up tight and everything's legal.
Right. Yeah. And that's, that is one of the hurdles that I think a lot of people see an initial number of, here's what it costs, and, but you also have to understand that the value in that number should make up if it doesn't make the difference, then you're at the wrong company, and Keller Williams isn't the right fit for you. But you're going to realize that it is the right fit because it should make the difference in 95% of people. If you want to go to work and you're growth minded, Keller Williams is going to be the right choice for you.
And that's what I tell them all the time. I'm like, look, it's not, you get hung up on this one thing. I'm like, but what's the difference? Let's say with the company you're at, the support you have, you do 5 deals a year. Or you go to a company like this and you do 15 a year. Which one are you making more money at the end of the year? That's what it comes down to. It doesn't matter when it all shakes out at the end of the year. It's which place did I make the most money, which is then going to impact your life the most.
Right. It's that for sale by owner mentality. Yeah. For sale by owners want 100% of it. They want all of it, even though they're only getting 88% of the market value, instead of getting 94% of the market value by having someone else take on all the stress, do all the stuff, and get you more money. Right. So it's that same mentality that realtors have at other places, but it's the same thing that they fight on the for sale by owners.
Yeah.
So it's sort of funny how it works in that manner, you know, because it's like they're, as far as I'm concerned, they're the for sale by owners.
Yeah.
You know,
and there's also, the scary part of it is you're trying to do this to save yourself the money, but you're leaving all these doors open as far as legalities, especially in the for sale by owner. Like you're doing this stuff that, you know, if somebody really wanted to go through with a fine tooth comb, there's probably a ton of things in there that could end up being eventual lawsuits.
Right. You know, and like, that's like what I said, you know, initially I figured I'd get my broker's license. I'd open a small boutique brokerage just because I can put my name on it. I'm that guy, you know, and now that I've got into this and I understand more, I don't ever want to do that because I don't ever want that side of it. I already have that taken care of and I don't have to worry about it. I can just worry about my business,
right?
Which is really what's going to make me money and not my name on a side of a building.
Yeah, right. So. Exactly. That's the way I look at it. I'd rather have the time to spend with my kids, go on vacations, than have, you know, my face on a shopping cart. You know, it doesn't, that part doesn't really appeal to me.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree 100% there.
So who got into real estate first, you or your wife?
So, I did. I've been licensed 6.5 years. How we ended up getting here, that's the story of it. So in 05 to 09, I did mortgages. Yeah. Because I have a restaurant background. I've bartended, still do a couple days a week. Right. Since 2001. So over 20 years. Yeah. And then we bought a house in Brighton in 15 and had our son beginning of 16. And it was like, what are we going to do? We're both bartenders. Like, I don't want to be missing soccer games and baseball games. I don't want to not go to school functions because I got to go to work. So it was like, well, you know, I have the mortgage background because I did that from 05 to 09. So why don't I get my real estate license? I can still do my job that I have now. You can stay at home, and then I can sort of pivot and get into real estate, you know, because face-to-face sales is easy. Like having a conversation like this is great. Having the mortgage background, I understood a hefty side of real estate already because I like numbers. Right. I'm one of those. I like numbers. So that was sort of like a natural fit to our life. I didn't realize I would like it as much as I do. Yeah. But it was either that or go back to school. And I was like, well, I can be a chemical engineer. They make a ton of money. Yeah. You know, but I would have gone back to school and probably been in school for 6 years. I'd probably just be getting done with, you know, $150,000 in student loans. And then I have to start from here to go. Right. So when we talked about it and when we got to it, it made too much sense for me not to do this. Yeah. You know, so it was just, it worked for our life. And it's, you know, it's obviously been a lot of fun, you know.
And the bartending thing fits perfect with it. I mean, because what a great source of lead gen. I mean, you're face-to-face with these people, and when you're bartending, I mean, I bartended for a long time myself. They tell you everything. Right. You know, probably too much sometimes, but you know everything about them by the time you're done.
And that's the cool part is, you know, a big part of my business when I first started, you know, let's see, first 3 transactions within the first 3 months were all from a regular at the bar. Yeah. You know, and it was natural. Like it came to it. Hey, I just got my real estate license. Like just talking about life. Cause at that point in time I had a newborn son. I just got my real estate license, and it was just people ask you, hey, how's your day? You know, what are you doing? And so it was part of natural conversation. So I grew my business around the bar. So it was easy. It just came, and I could do both of them at the same time, which was the most important thing, was to be able to allow my wife to stay home. Yeah. You know, because otherwise she would have had to bartend opposite of me, you know, and then we're just burnt. Right. You know, and
kids are in daycare and somebody else is watching them and enjoying all the good stuff with them.
And that wasn't something that we even had in our mind. Yeah. Like it wasn't an option. So we had to figure out how to make it work otherwise.
Yeah, that's awesome. So now when did Marta decide to get her license?
About 2 years ago. So our youngest is now 4. And so when he was 2, I think he went to preschool a couple days a year or a week. And so she was like, well, maybe I'll just, you know, go bartend or get a job and make some extra money. Cause, you know, after COVID, my job changed a lot because I was pulling a lot of my business across the bar. Right. So I hit a little bit of a lull in late 2020 and 21,
Right.
21 before we built it back up. So she was like, well, maybe I'll just get a job in this and that. And then we broke it down and started doing numbers. It's like, babe, if you close, 6 houses a year,
Yeah.
like that's doing that. And you can do it, part-time, and I can do all the work behind the scenes because I have the time to do it.
And you have the freedom.
Right. So she decided that, yes, I'm going to do this. And she got her license, closed a couple of houses her first year. She just put her 6th one under contract this year, which was her goal.
Nice.
So it's amazing, and she's still able to be a stay-at-home mom for the most part, which is incredible,
that's great.
But she's part of the community. She talks to people. She's out, and so that's where it's worked perfect so far.
Yeah. No, that's a great fit because now you're able to be active at the school, active in your kids' lives.
Right.
And by default, you're probably going to pick up some business from that anyway, just because you are that person that other parents see, other parents talk to. Parents as a whole at school are very sharing, and as far as information, what's going on with them.
Right. And it's fun, and you get to help people. You get to bring value to their life. That's like one of the things that I love about this job is being able to be an intricate part of a huge decision in people's lives, and helping them navigate it through it, and hopefully it being a very, very positive experience to where they're grateful for it, because I'm grateful for the opportunity that they've given me, because this is how I take care of my family.
Right.
So I want to make sure that they come out with a very positive experience. And that's the coolest part, is because then you're directly affecting your community, which is something that's very important to us.
Yeah. And you say grateful. I'm assuming there's some tie in there. I noticed the Grateful Day has an uncanny resemblance to the way the Grateful Dead is spelled. Are you a Grateful Dead fan?
I may be a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. So that's how I grew up. That's my, like certain people have things they do, like people are going to go out and golf or go fish or do things like for their leisure to just sort of relax. Like music has always been something where it's like I can get with my own thoughts and I can sort of relax, and that's where that space is. When I was younger, like listening to the Grateful Dead was my thing. I mean, it still is, let's be honest. But that's like my safe space, in a way. It's where I get to go and just take a breath and just sort of relax and just, daydream.
Yeah. I went to one Grateful Dead show, and it was at Soldier Field in Chicago.
Okay.
And it was a long time ago. I think I was probably like 17. But my stepbrother was a few years older than me, and he was a huge Deadhead, like toured with him for like 2 years, something ridiculous.
That's cool.
Just full blown hippie. But yeah, I went to one just because I had a seat. I didn't even have tickets. I didn't even go into the show. We just sat in the parking lot, and just being in the parking lot was like a party. I mean, it was unlike anything I've ever seen. I mean, the environment was insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's different. It's that counterculture of it. It's just fun. It's hard to explain unless you experience,
right?
Because it's something you can't really explain.
Yeah.
And the Grateful Dead had that aura around them, and that was the great part, is you just went there to smile and be happy.
Yeah, very, very positive vibes. Yeah, it was cool.
And that was, that's the best part about it, and that's what it still does to me to this day. Like if the sun's shining and I got the Grateful Dead on the radio and I'm driving, I crank it up, and it makes me relax. It puts me in that mood. Like if I'm going to a showing or, whatnot, and that's just my ease of like, because you got to be on, when you're a realtor, when you're in front of people, you got to be on.
Right.
But like, it's nice to take a breath and take a step back, because as soon as you get out of the car and you say hi, you got to have those answers. You got to be on.
Right.
But that's sort of where I get to relax my mind before it's like go time. Like, all right, I got
So
this.
now in the past, I mean, just from an observation standpoint, it seems like I'd say probably the last 6 months you've had a real kind of uptick in your business.
Yeah.
What do you attribute to that? Is that around the time you started coaching, or is that what would you say started it?
I think just my focus has changed.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we were doing so much business, or I was doing so much business through the bar. It was all face-to-face, and I've always done face-to-face sales. I was in retail, before I got into restaurants, and so I've always done face-to-face sales. So this is like the most comfortable thing for me, just having a conversation. But COVID happened, and we just went poof, for a year, and it was like I didn't even know how to pivot out of it.
Yeah.
because I didn't know of the business other than how I had done it.
Right.
And that's where we're going to go back to Keller Williams. I got in the office. I took the classes that they offered to me. I listened. I talked, and it really allowed me to start developing more skills. So become more skill-based.
Yeah.
And then, we're starting to get some, residual business. People that, initially bought houses, they're starting to come around and, buy bigger houses or, so that's part of it. And we've been on a hot streak and it's fun, you know, and when you get in and you got to keep the pedal down, and that's what we're trying to do right now is just create more consistency, and the consistency follows the commitment, and then they, there was the 3 C's. So you got to have the confidence. And once you have the confidence, you can commit to something. And once you commit to something, then you can become more competent or increase your competency.
Right.
Well, once you increase your competency, then your confidence goes up, and then you can become more committed. And so it's cyclical.
Right.
And those 3 together are, really building up. And I think that's sort of where we are. Is like it started, like I had the confidence, but maybe not as much commitment as I needed.
Yeah.
And then when I got more committed, more competency came because I had more conversations about real estate.
Right.
I had more education behind it. And as the confidence grows, the commitment grows, and they all go together. It's almost, it's bad time to use it, but it's almost like a hurricane, where it starts as a small little storm and it builds up, and that's all we're doing is we're building up the storm.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. It's cool too to watch, because when I came to Tribe, you were one of the first people I saw, and I was going to a lot of the trainings just because I wanted to see, what was going on, and I knew I could take away. That's the other cool thing about them. Their trainings, as much as they're geared towards real estate, anybody could sit in there and you're going to take something away from it. So that's what I was doing. I would sit in there, and I noticed you were always in those trainings. You've always been in the office. You're one of the people that's in the office pretty much daily. And then it was cool to see, like, clearly it works, because then I started, noticing, and like I said, the past 6 months, probably you've had a big swing up in business. Do you think, I guess a hard lesson to learn, but one of the lessons you learned from the COVID thing was that you need these multiple sources of lead gen instead of just the one, like you said?
Yeah, I think I was treating it before. And I love bartending. Like I hate going there at night now, but it's just been such a different, fun environment to be able to, you just get to, have fun and be goofy, So, but it was that, and this is a second job. Yeah. They were side by side. Right. Like it wasn't this, I'm a realtor and a bartender. It's like I was a bartender and a realtor. They were side by side because and they were pretty even in income besides 19. Because I used to work 4 or 5 nights a week and do this.
Right.
And then really as the boys started to get a little bit older, it was time to pivot out of it. And it's not as much fun because I'm tired because my boys get up early and my house is crazy because I have 2 super active boys that are just going nuts. So trying to pivot out of the bartending and ramp this up. And really, like you said, it's the focus of getting back in there because yes, the education in the office is for realtors, but it's really just about coaching people in life and putting them in, how can you get yourself in a better situation? What can you, and those are the conversations that naturally come with the direction that they go with things. And I think that just helps push you to get a little bit out of your comfort zone. And that's probably what I did, and I need to do more so of, because the sky is the limit. There's in real estate, there is no limit to what you can do. You can be whatever you want to be. You just have to commit to it. Yeah. And once you commit to it, then it'll come. But you have to really dive in and you have to believe.
Yeah. And there's a big, my takeaway from a lot of it, there's a big mindset piece to all this, which is really cool because a lot of places I've worked, I've never had them focus on that. But it seems like everybody seems to buy in on that mindset thing, which is huge. It's one of those things they don't teach kids in school that they should. It's probably up there, more important than a lot of things they teach them would be mindset, because that's the one thing that you can control and it can change everything for you. I've noticed too, it's kind of cool to watch because I've kind of watched the evolution of you from when I first started to where now you are more of a career real estate agent. like you said before, they kind of ran side by side, but it seems like now you're definitely pivoting towards where you're a career real estate agent and you're putting in the work and obviously getting the benefits of it.
Right. And that's where I've found where we want to be and what we want to do. And I think bringing my wife on helped a lot in that aspect, because she sees what needs to be put into it more so. Whereas before it was like, cool, like it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I could get a phone call. But now it's more like, okay, here's what we're doing, because here's where we want to be. Because we have more of a vision of where, like, we want to be hyper local, Brighton based. I was born here, grew up here, moved away, and then moved back. And now I'm raising my family here. We like to be a part of the community. I coach soccer. The boys play sports. Wife helps out in the community with school and whatnot. So we have a vision of what we want to do. So it's a lot easier to execute now because we know what we want to do. Whereas before it was, we wanted to survive, like it was just, we didn't really know like our long-term goals, and now we do. Yeah.
Kind of driving blind, just hoping to get, the money to live.
Yes. And that's what it was, and like I've always said, at this point in my life, I could, just because of how I am, I'm going to be 44 in a month.
Yeah.
I've always got by. I've always been comfortable, and I'm still comfortable getting by.
Right.
But now what I want to do is I want to teach my boys to show them what we can do, what they can do, be able to create this, because I'm creating it for them.
Yeah.
I really don't. It's not for me.
Right.
I'm going to have cool adventures with them along the way.
Oh, yeah.
But when it comes down to it at the end, I want them to look up to their dad.
Yeah.
I want them to see what we built. And if they want to take over, great. If they don't, that's fine. But I want them to know that they can do whatever they want. It's like, even when they make up in the morning, like Leo, the oldest, didn't want to get out of bed today. And he was complaining. And I was like, a negative mindset never has positive results, bud.
Right.
It's time to get up. We got to go. Well, there's a time frame that we have to stick to today.
Yeah.
Like, if you didn't get enough sleep, then maybe you go to sleep earlier tonight.
Right.
But, you have to have a positive mindset or you're going to have a negative day.
Yeah.
And it's those kind of things that, like, you hear at Keller Williams in all these trainings, and like they click, and they're being set. You're planting seeds.
Right.
And that's probably why we're on a nice uptick right now, is because those seeds, they're growing.
Yeah.
And, they're taking over places where the I don't want to say doubt, but the unknown was before.
Yeah.
Like, so we're actually, we're seeing the fruits of our labor.
And I think doubt's a pretty good word. I mean, that's, a lot of people just, you don't know. Like you said, it's the unknown. You have this fear, but it's like they always say, like, you can be scared and go through it and hopefully get something out of it, or you can just let the fear win and you don't do anything, which if you don't do anything, the outcome of that.
Right. Yeah. I watched one. I watch a lot of videos that are motivational, believe it or not, because they help me. And it was a gentleman in front of the class, and he's holding a glass, and he says, "How much does this glass weigh?" And he asks like 3 people, and they all have a different answer.
Yeah.
He goes, it doesn't matter how much the glass weighs, it's how long we hold it for. So, if I just have the glass, I hold it, I set it down, it doesn't weigh that much.
Yeah.
If I hold it for an hour, my arm starts to get tired.
Right.
And if I hold it for a day, like, I won't be able to hold it anymore. And that goes to the weight of the fear and the negative thoughts that you hold within you.
Yeah.
Everyone has them.
Right.
You got to push them aside, and you got to get past it. And if you sit there and hesitate in those moments, that's when they're going to take over, and they're going to have a negative effect on you.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to push it to the side and go towards what your goal is.
Right.
And that's the hardest part for a lot of people to get by. But I like having like things like that in my pocket to be able to help.
Yeah.
To push through.
It does help. And I don't know, I mean, I'm speaking for myself, but for you, we're similar in age. I mean, we're both getting up there, but do you notice that it's as your business evolves, you feel like you kind of evolve, like as a person, you just get more, I don't know if you'd call it enlightened or what, but I feel like as I get older, I start to see these things and they make sense to where I'm like, wow, like, why didn't I see any of this stuff when I was younger? The mindset stuff and like the positivity, and where it just changes the way you feel, even the way you wake up in the morning.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. I think that, there's so much that comes with it. And I think it's just being comfortable in your own skin, which I a natural thing, when you're younger, you just don't have that confidence, just because of how the world is.
Yeah.
So I think, just being more comfortable in your own skin allows you to relax and enjoy it more.
Yeah.
And really, that if you have a positive mindset, you're going to have a positive life.
Right.
So, I mean, like you said, in education now, it's something that, it would be awesome if they could teach kids to understand, like
finance and mindset.
Teach
that,
We're starting a new school. But I think it would make a huge difference in a lot of people's lives, because I think a lot of people don't hear it. And so, and obviously the news is very negative. Yeah. So, they hear all these negative things all the time. They don't hear enough positive. And I think that's where, you as a parent really have to, be on it with your kids. And as a team leader now, like, that's my job, with my team. It's just my wife at this point in time, but that's something I get through the office. There's positive energy, and it makes a difference. Like,
for sure.
It makes you feel good about walking in that door every day.
Yeah. Even when they talk about statistics, and you look at, like what everybody says in the news, like housing market's declining, this is happening, all these, the world's falling apart around you. And like Keller Williams, at least that office, Keller Williams Real Living in Livingston, it's growing. I mean, the numbers are still solid, which is crazy, because it's like that mindset piece, it doesn't affect them. They're not buying into the hype. They're just doing their job like they do it every day, and the success continues to follow for them.
Right. And it makes sense, though, because people have to move.
Yeah.
They just do. People need to downsize. People need to buy a home for the first time. People need to, get transferred. Like, there is motivation out there in people to make the move. And, it's marry the house, date the rate.
Right.
That's a big one right now.
Yep.
And in the buy downs, there's some cool programs, but throughout it all, like, people are still moving. Like, if you have a negative mindset on the market to say, oh, everything's slowing down, your business is going to slow down.
For sure.
But if you see that there's still opportunities out there, then you're going to go get them, and you're going to take over, your share. You're going to increase, like, in this market, I want to be in Brighton. I want to be,
right.
I want to take over more of the market share. And that's what we're going to focus on right now, because there are people that are going to raise their hands up and, say, hey, yes, we need to do that now.
Right.
So I want to be the one asking the question to get them to raise their hand. I don't want to be the one sitting there pouting in the corner.
Right. And it's like you said, people are always going to have to do that, just depending on their situation. They may have to buy, they may have to sell, they may have to relocate, and being the one that's there. The silver lining of it is, back to mindset. If you look at the positive thing, there are going to be a ton of those negative people that get out of the business, which, it may take 2 years to realize that change and see the market shift, but that's an awesome place to be if you're the one that has the positive mindset and you're still continuing to do business through that, and then you make it through the storm. Now, on the other side, there's less competition.
Right. And that's where it's a huge opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
This is a huge chance to really grow your business. It's easy to get on when it's going up and everyone wants to pile on. That's why you've seen a ton of people get licensed recently, because they think it's the easiest thing in the world. But in the tougher times, if you can grind and become more successful through this time, guess where they're going to be when it starts to turn up? They're all going to be waiting to get on with you. So this is sort of like, that's why we're sort of diving in even harder, because it just makes more sense to do it now and really go for it. I have a friend who his dad owned a battery recycling company, and I don't know if it's the EPA changed all the standards, and this is 20 years ago. Yeah. So they changed all the standards, and there are thousands of them around the country, because recycling batteries is not the most environmentally friendly thing in the world, believe it or not. So out of all of those, I believe 997 decided that they're done. They can't deal with these standards. Well, his dad dove in harder along with 2 other companies. Right. And the fruits of the labor of, figuring out how to get it done, they did very, very well when they sold that company. I can imagine. Because no one else was in the business. Right. So like that's when you grow, is when that's the opportunity you've been waiting for. It's not when it's on a huge upswing and everyone wants to do it. it's when it gets tough.
Yeah.
Like that's when you dive in and you go harder.
Right. I mean, look at the numbers on, it was like mortgage originators prior to '08, and then like after '08, you know, the number dropped by like, it was something crazy, like 80 something percent, maybe even higher, because of all the new regulations and things like that. But it's like those ones that stuck it out, you know, enjoyed the uptick, whereas everybody else that just got out because they're like, oh, there's all these regulations, it's too tough, I can't do it.
Right.
You know, they all left, which a lot of them, it's probably a good thing because they were shady, obviously, and that's why they didn't want to get on board with that.
Right.
Still, same thing. You know, now you have less competition.
Right. And I think I learned from that because that's when I was a lender.
Yeah.
And, you know, we got to a point where it's like I was working 70 hours a week and making not a lot of money.
Yeah, I feel like I could guess where you made
Yeah,
it.
you don't. And then, no, I didn't actually.
Okay.
And then it just got to the point, I mean, I was so I was about 30 years old.
Yeah.
So I went back to the restaurants. You know, I said, you want to know what? Maybe this isn't the route for me. And I went back to the restaurants and did some more bartending and managing and thought maybe opening a restaurant, you know, because it's something I had a background in, I was good at. And I thought maybe that was the route for a little while. And, but now that I'm here and today, after getting my real estate license, be licensing, and that's why I think I have such a growth-minded opportunity in front of me, is because I do see the people that stuck through it and went and they grew. You know, it's like, I think Mike Perno was out a couple years ago. We had him out for one of our summer series, and he talked about 07 or 08, one of the two. He did like $20 million, which is
That's
obviously
crazy.
a phenomenal number, right? And then the year after, when it was even worse, he did 83.
Wow.
Because he dove in harder.
Yeah.
You know, and that one really stuck to me because it was like, wow, he had a phenomenal business and he could have, you know, oohed and ahhed and you know, poor me, and instead he quadrupled his business because he let the other people do that.
It's like
he
buying stock, you know.
Yeah.
You want to buy it when it's low. That's you know, when you start making that shift.
Yeah. Yeah. So and that's the cool part, and that's where I think the opportunity is right now.
For sure.
Like I don't think this is going to be the worst year I have for the rest of my career. That's how I'm going to look at it.
Yeah.
You know, like it's only going up from here, you know, and did pretty good this year.
Yeah.
But it's going to only get better because that's the mentality that I'm going to carry.
And the mindset you have, like you were discussing earlier, like I think it's similar to mine. I've always learned how to get by on not very much.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when it does tick up, you know what I mean? You're just in a better position because you can always figure out a way to get by on not a lot.
Right.
Where it's like some of those people that they've come right out of the gate, silver spoon in their mouth, went to school, made all this money. Something bad happens in their life. They don't know any other way. They don't know how to survive.
Right.
You know, whereas if you can survive on not a lot and then you get a lot, the way you can set yourself up for the future is incredible.
Yeah. And that's where, you know, creating wealth is important to me for my family.
Right.
You know, it's creating it for the boys. It has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Like I said, I want to go on cool adventures. I already have, you know, I love my house. I'm probably never moving.
Right.
They're going to take me out feet first one day. And then it's really just like, we want to buy some income properties. You know, we want to invest in real estate because that's where we know. And having that opportunity, the passive income that you can bring in through it, you know, because your portfolio is going to grow,
right?
You know, so it's just natural.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like our far end goal is to, you know, own a certain amount of money in real estate to be able to pass on the boys when we're no longer here, you know. And that's the cool part is, I mean, you see these hedge funds, you know, like BlackRock and whatnot, and what are they doing? They're buying up real estate like crazy. And guess what? Those are never coming back on the market. You want to know why? Because it's the safest investment that you can buy. They're not dumb. You know, they've realized they got burned before when they had all their money in that market. Yeah. So they're coming to real estate. Yeah. So you're going to see it's going to be harder to get into starter homes because those houses are never coming back to the market. Because once they turn into investment property for a hedge fund, they're gone.
That's it.
Yeah. So they're not here yet. They're in Grand Rapids. You know, I know they're snapping up Grand Rapids like crazy.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
And like you said, when you talked about even opening a bar, I mean, how cool, because that business is an absolute grind. You know, you talk about like life by design. That's not the business, you know, because if you're doing that as your sole source of income, you're there all the time. But how cool would it be to be able to make a living in real estate, and then at some point own a bar, but you're basically, you know, a standoff owner, and you just get to go in there and once in a while and hang out and be the owner and do all the cool stuff, but you're not at the end of the day stressed about every single transaction in the place.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's where like owning a restaurant, like I always wanted to start a chain.
Yeah.
And have it be called The Dive and just have a bunch of them, tiny little places, like 40, 50 seats, great food, Philly cheesesteak, if you're not from Philly, sorry. You know, would be like the signature thing, like, and build something off of there. Like I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but the margins just aren't there. And usually you start really high and they fade out unless you're, you know, really on, you know, you have to keep the pulse of the business and you have to keep evolving. So it's really a high stress, not so high reward environment, unless you can build something up and sell it off to as a chain. Right. You know what I mean? And that's the only way that you really can come very wealthy in, you know, being a restaurateur.
Right. Or you own the real estate. You know, that's my buddy in Chicago. That's what he did, him and his father, and they bought the buildings, you know, and they were usually struggling bars from some guy that was a bartender that decided he wanted to open a bar, got into it, got in over his head. So they would get the liquor license for next to nothing, buy the building. Now they own it, rent it back to themselves, you know, and they did that all over the place. And that's, you know, quite the portfolio.
But that's almost more of a real estate portfolio.
Than
it is a restaurateur.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean? So that's a great way to take advantage of it, which is brilliant, especially in a big city, because you see where the value of everything goes in cities. It doesn't go down, you know, it grows up immensely. So
exactly.
You know,
that's really cool. So now your plan for the next, I don't know, let's say 2 years, is it to eventually build and get an admin in place, or you're just going to kind of let it go organically and see where you're at?
Yeah. I mean, that's where, you know, me and Bill were talking this morning, it's really right now I'm breaking down every dollar, figuring out where every dollar goes and how to get it to, you know, the point where I'm ready to hire, and building our business out. Cause we do have, you know, I'm turning 44, you know, I have a age 45 goal of wealth, an age 50, you know, an age 55, 60 and 65. And at 65, that's when I really want to start like phasing out, because I want to retire one day, you know, or at least like, you know, you can do real estate and you can do it from a step back, but I don't want to be running the business. That's where I want to hand it off to the boys, you know, if they want to do it. My wife's younger than me. She can work longer if she wants to.
Right.
I bet.
There's, I forget who it is, but there's an agent in her office, older woman, and I know she does it. She's retired. She was a powerhouse, and now she does, I don't know, I'd say probably still by default 6-7 deals a year. And they say she does it solely for the money to then travel with her family. She takes her entire family on these like really cool vacations. And so she's essentially retired. She just, you know, these deals kind of fall into her lap, and that's what she does with the money. It's just to go on adventures with her family without, you know, dabbing into her other income.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the coolest thing in the world, you know, like, cause that I always say adventures, cause I don't want to just go on vacations. Right. I want to go on adventures. I want to make memories, you know, like I want to do the cool things when we go on the vacations. Like, I don't want to just go sit in the sand at a nice resort and have someone wait on me. I want to go to that resort, and then I want to go on catamaran. I want to go on the zip line tour. I want to do these cool things that when my boys think back, when they'll
remember
like,
them.
Remember when we did that, Dad? And be like, yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. We've shifted away from that, from the gifts to now like Christmas. You know what I mean? You get all this crap essentially, and it sits around. To like now you don't get a lot of stuff. We're going to do experiences, because these experiences you'll remember. You know, the stuff you're not going to remember any of that.
And I think like my mindset on all of that changed a lot, because my wife was born in Europe. So when she was growing up, she grew up there, did a little, and then they moved back, and then they went back to England and lived in England for a while. And she would travel all over the place over there, because it was so cool. And she has stories like she went to a 13th birthday party when she lived in London in Sweden. You know, for her mom's 40th birthday, they went down to Egypt. You know, like, and it's just like crazy. That kind of stuff. Like she has those. I have 5 siblings, and my parents, you know, did awesome, but traveling with 8 people wasn't there.
I can't even imagine.
It wasn't in the cards. So we went up north to our cottage in the UP for our vacations every summer, because my mom was a teacher. So like we didn't have those big travel experiences, you know, that she had. And I want to make sure that, you know, my boys get to see things if they want to, if it piques their interest,
Yeah.
you know, and I want to see things still
Yeah.
as I get older because I haven't seen a ton.
Right.
So that's the cool part.
Yeah, that's very cool. So that's, I mean, you're designing your business for your life, not only for income, but for your life as well. Do you guys plan on starting to roll that investment part into it at some point? When do you see yourself starting to buy like investment properties and things like that?
Our goal is to buy our first one next year.
Okay.
So, you know, I mean, it's just, we want to be on the west side of the state in the Saugatuck, South Haven,
Okay.
like in that area. We want to get like an Airbnb in that area because we like going out there. It's something that we'd use a couple weeks a year,
Right.
and something that can produce quite a bit of income in the summer because you get all the Chicago money that comes around and wants to be on the lake.
Oh yeah.
So it's a great opportunity over there, and the prices of the homes just keeps going up like crazy because they aren't building anything else, you know, in downtown areas like downtown Saugatuck, South Haven, Grand Haven, all those they're just awesome. Yeah, they're cool little beach towns.
We went to South Haven. Friend of a friend from Chicago, actually, it's the guy's brother-in-law. So his wife's brother owns a place on Lake Michigan, and it's like this is a vacation home. I mean, it was insane. You know, just nuts. But yeah, Chicago money.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the cool part is like, you know, so we have a game plan on that kind of stuff. Like we know where we want to put it. We know how we want to sort of invest. Yeah, like with Airbnbs or maybe a rental or you know, like you diversify your real estate portfolio. Right. So I have goals to where we want to be, and when I'm 65, like at 65, I want to own a certain amount of real estate that just sits there and gives me you know, passive income. And at that point in time, that's when, you know, that just sort of takes care of us and I can take a step back. Yeah. And then the boys can step in if they want to, or hopefully it's, you know, successful enough to where it's something I can sell off. Yeah. You know, so it's really just, at that point, it's just set them up, but to make sure that I know that we can take a step back because it's not like, you know, my parents are very lucky. Both of them worked a union job. They have pensions and Social Security, and they still do very well for themselves today. Right. That life doesn't exist anymore.
Those aren't there anymore. Which the cool thing, too, about the Airbnbs that I love is the fact that now you buy this place, but you can still use it. It generates income, but you can still use it, you know, whereas opposed to if you buy one and you make it a long-term rental, I mean, you don't have access to it.
Well, and that's the coolest part. Like, obviously, that's the first one where our goal is, but it doesn't have to be close by. Yeah. You know, if I want to buy something in Florida, California, Texas, North Carolina, like I can go buy something there and that can be my Airbnb and we can use it once a year, you know, like cool. That's where we go for spring break. Like, sorry, like, you know what I mean? Like, so that's the coolest part is like, you can, with real estate, it can be anywhere and people manage them. So you don't have to worry about it, you know? So it's really hands off passive income. And once you know, obviously you have to purchase it, but after that, as long as you're getting, I believe it 12 weeks should pay your 12 months of mortgage. Gotcha. Okay. And that puts you in a positive cash flow. Right. So if you can find a place that gets 12 plus weeks to cover that, then you're in the driver's seat. And then you can take the rest, put it off the side, invest in something else, you know, pay it down if that's something you want to do. So it creates so much opportunity so fast that it's just sort of a no-brainer from what we do as a profession to not invest in real estate.
Yeah, it's cool too. It's cool too. Just by being in the profession, it opens your eyes to all these things, you know, that you may have not had exposure to in the past.
Right. And I think that's where having a lending background also helps because I understand different things about it. Yeah. To where it, you know, you can move money around pretty easy in real estate and take advantage of situations and it's just cool and it's fun. And while, you know, over these 20 years when we buy these investment properties, then, you know, the people that come in, whether it be a renter, Airbnb, however we decide to structure, they're paying my mortgage down. So I'm gaining on that side also. Right. So it's a win-win, you know, I'm taking off the top and the bottom today. Yeah. So it's really cool and a huge opportunity. Yeah. And a plug here, Victor Bales with USA Mortgage. I've sat down and talked with him before. I plan on having him on the show at some point also. But when you talk to him, like if you give him your plan and what you want to do, the stuff he comes up with
blows my mind as far as like all these different loopholes and workarounds and things that I had no idea existed.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of structures it and you're just like, whoa, this sky's the limit.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I didn't even realize it till a couple weeks ago, but if you buy an investment property and it's going to be a true investment, you can actually get it out of your debt to income ratio if you can produce enough. I'm trying to think. If you can show that it's going to bring in that much income,
right?
You can take it right
before
out.
It's even rented.
Correct.
Yeah, if you can show the prediction basically that says it will.
So you don't even necessarily have to have the money to to work in your debt ratio. You just need the down payment, and that's where it blows your mind because you think you have to make more than you have to make. You just have to have the money to get you in there initially,
right? And then the whole, getting into more of it, you can set them up in LLCs. You can then take the money as a down payment, as a loan, with interest on it to yourself. And yeah, it's crazy where you can go with it once you dive in.
Yeah. And that's where investing in real estate is so much fun. And
right.
As a realtor, it's something you have to do almost.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I'm not going to talk more about it, obviously, because I'm not a CPA or a mortgage guy, so I'll probably end up saying something completely illegal. But yeah, it's very cool. Now, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how would they go about doing that?
Well, phone number is the easiest way.
Yep.
Everyone's got the phone in their hand at all points in time. 810-923-0107. And then we have a website. It's gratefulDayRealty.kw.com.
Okay.
And then, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram with the same.
Yeah.
And, email Scott@GratefulDayRealty.com. So
awesome.
Trying to be pretty consistent there if you can tell.
All right. Very cool. Well, thanks for coming on. I mean, I feel like I could talk to you for 3 hours, but we'll wrap it up there. And thanks for coming on. I plan to have you on again in the future.
All right. Thank you. It's really nice to talk to you as well. Super
awesome.
easy.
Cool.